Good afternoon. Thank you for watching, it is appreciated. Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick have both defected to reform. Is this a good idea? This is what I'm going to look at in this video, so thank you for watching. So the first thing we'll do is we'll look at Robert Jenrick's seats down in Newark, that is in the East Midlands. He's on a majority of about, what's his majority? 3,500, that's in Newark. And then you look at Suella Braverman's majority down in Fareham and Waterlooville. She's on a majority of about 6,000. So they're not on borderline seats, but I think that they both made the calculation that the Tories cannot be saved, the Tories are toast, and the jump and shift to reform. So what's the play from Nigel? Why would he be doing this? A lot of people online are saying, well, the Tories are tainted, they're a tarnished brand. Why would we be getting anyone like this from the Tories, considering their record in government under Boris Johnson, Theresa May, and all the other Prime Ministers, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak? Why would you do this? It could be a revenge plot. It could just be a revenge plot from Nigel Farage because he's tried to steer the Conservative ship time and time again. They cannot be redeemed, they cannot be saved, and so he's going full scorched earth to make sure that when he comes to running the next election, he's got a clean sweep of the right. And there's a lot of merit to that argument, there's a lot of merit to that position. I personally think it's a diversion, it's a waste of time, and I do think that even though Robert Jenrick now says the right things, he is a snake. Suella Braverman, she's always said the right things, but again, she was complicit in the previous government. So why would you want them? They are damaged goods. As I say, I think it's personally he wants to neutralise the threat from the Tories at all. 0 seats for both the main parties, in my view. There is a bit of a catch-22 here, though, and the catch-22 is he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. The damned if he does is people will critique, oh, you're just the Tories again. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And then if you don't do that, the legacy media and the political class will say, well, we can't really trust you. We can't really trust you to run the country because you've got no experience. If the experience of the past 30 years has taught me anything, I don't really want anybody who's been in government before to be back in government. I really don't. That's my view. That's my scorched earth view on the establishment. None of the legacy parties deserve any seats. But pragmatically, these 2 seats, they could have built up, like Braverman and Jenrick, could have built up such a profile in their own constituencies that the brand itself, the Conservatives, isn't really written. It's not worth the paper it's written on anymore. People are not going to vote. They'll vote for their candidate rather than their colour vote set. So the issue is, though, the unique selling point of Reform UK originally was they were not the establishment, and now many people will critique that they're becoming the thing that they said they were not going to. Well, this is only the second year in the 3-year electoral cycle, so we'll have to see what transpires. My take is, I'm in a red wall seat. People in the red wall don't vote Conservative. They just don't. My seat, when Boris won his 80-seat majority in 2019, still returned a Labour MP. However, that doesn't hold anymore. Because I've got a Reform MP now, and they are basically right-leaning Conservative-type policies, but they're not Tories. That's how some people will think of it. They're not Tories, I can vote for them, it's safe, and I don't want Labour. And they like Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is popular in the red wall, he really is. So we'll move on, and I want to move on now to the by-election that's coming up in February, and I want to discuss that slightly, so that's what I'm going to move on to now. The Gorton and by-election is going to happen at the end of February, and Reform UK have picked their candidate, which is Matt Goodwin. He's got his own show on GB News, and like many things, many people on the right, when they're on television, they say the right things, and they come across as articulate, well-read, and they come across like they would be a good MP, and Matt Goodwin is a prime example of that. However, a lot of commentators on the right and a lot of people in the online discourse highlight the fact that his views have changed over time. He used to be a bit of a left winger, used to be a classic liberal. I think he voted Remain in 2016 for the Brexit referendum. And now he's all of a sudden on the right wing bandwagon, riding the populist wave. People say you can't really trust him. You need to think of things in the round, because in my youth, I was a Labour voter. All right, up until 2010, the general election in 2010, I was a Labour voter until Gordon Brown called a regular woman in the street racist and a bigot on a hot mic when she complained about immigration. And I've never been a Labour voter since, and I never will be again. And then I've gone to the Tories and eventually have ended up with Reform. So the ideological purity argument that people say, well, there used to be a lefty or there used to be off the left, doesn't really hold much water with me, because I can't critique that if that's my journey as well. So I can't really critique or speak to that point. I can say people's positions change over time, but also the discourse skewed so far left in the past 20 years that people that would have classed themselves always as a sensible centrist are now branded a far-right bigot. So you can't have it both ways. I think that the biggest mistake that Labour have made this week is declining Andy Burnham's request to stand in the seat, because Reform UK are going to win it, and I think they're going to win it by a healthy margin. Lest we forget that the majority in this seat is less than the majority that was in my seat for Labour, and that flipped turquoise, so I think this one will as well. I think that Reform, they're taking a calculated risk. It may pay off, it may not. A week is a long time in politics, time will tell. These are just my thoughts. As always, your mileage may vary. Now, if you like this video and you think I'm onto something, make me aware. Comment below if you disagree. Comment below if you agree. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.